This is Russell Powell, and here's my demonstration speech on how to make a simple and easy eggs and toast. As someone who's enrolled in school full time, takes 3 college classes, plays sports, and is involved in many other extracurricular activities, I don't have much time to do what I need to do. And cooking is no exception. And sometimes, when I've had little to no time to cook, I've made some very unhealthy choices. One of the most efficient meals I've learned how to make both time efficiently and health efficiently has been eggs and toast. Eggs and toast is delicious. It can be made to fit your taste if you're not picky. It is also very simple to make. It can be done in under 15 minutes. It can be divided into 3 sections, including prep or preparation, cooking, and plating. The first thing that you want to do before cooking, and most cooking, just excluding eggs as well, is get your pan and start heating it up. This is so that it will be heating up while you're doing other prep, like getting your ingredients out. Don't add your oil yet. I don't have all the scientific details, but you don't want to add your oil while it's heating up. Things can and will get messed up. Wait until the pan is hot. Next, get your eggs. I'm using a simple brown egg, very common. It's what I had on hand. It's what I'm using, no difference between it and a white egg. There are some differences between small eggs and large eggs, but that doesn't really matter. But it doesn't matter what egg you have, just use whatever you have on hand. Next, you're going to want to get out your bread. I'm using whole grain bread, very healthy. If you're bored of things like white bread and you want to try something different, like me, try trying sourdough, rye, or whole grain and other kinds of breads. My favorite bread is sourdough. Toasts great and it goes great with eggs. Next, get out your spatula. Most spatulas work for anything. I'm using a non-stick pan, as you can see. So I can't use a metal spatula because that risks taking off some of the material on the outside that actually gives it its non-stick qualities. So you don't want to use a metal on non-stick, but almost every spatula works on other pans. Next, take out your preferred oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. You don't need that much, just a little drizzle at the start. You can always add more very easily. You can't really subtract unless you use a paper towel or something, which is a lot more difficult than just adding more if you need more. Like I said, I'm using extra virgin olive oil. Most recommend to use a normal olive oil, but this is so short that it doesn't really have time to burn, and I like the flavor of extra virgin a lot more than I like the flavor of regular olive oil. Getting ingredients is pretty down to earth, pretty simple, and it's hard to mess up, and it's also hard to make it more efficient unless you're running around. Cooking, on the other hand, can be tweaked very easily to make it a more quick process and a more efficient process. Now that prep is done, we're ready to start cooking. Your pan should be hot at this point while you've got all of your ingredients out. Depending on your stove, it might take a little longer. That's fine, just give it some time. You can tell by putting your hand about 8 inches above the surface. I wouldn't say go closer. I wouldn't say go farther, because then you'll have inaccurate feelings of the heat, or you might get burnt if you put it too close. So like I said, now you're ready to add your oil. You don't need oil for nonstick or very seasoned pans, which means it just has the quality of nonstick as well. But for things like cast iron and stainless steel, you're probably going to want nonstick anyways. For the most part, I use nonstick, like I said, but oil does also make the eggs crispy, so if you want that, then you should add oil. For time's sake and cleanup's sake, toast your toast in the same pan that you're making your eggs. I'll get into more details later on why you should do that and why it's efficient. Also, now at this time we can add our eggs to the pan. A lot of times you'll find that eggshells will get into your pan as you're beginning to cook, or if you haven't cooked with eggs before, it's probably going to happen. So to avoid that, you can just crack an egg into a bowl beforehand and then pour the egg out onto the pan with the bowl. Obviously, you can add your toast as well at this point. They should take about the same time to cook. Depends on what kind of pan you have, how much oil, once again. But you'll be able to see that. You can flip the toast quite often just to check that it's not burnt or anything like that. Some techniques you can use to cook the egg. I like mine over easy fried eggs, which means the yolk is still running on the inside, but the white is cooked. I don't prefer sunny side up. A lot of people do. One problem that I found when I started cooking was when I cooked sunny side up, I didn't know how to. So I ended up with a lot of uncooked egg white at the top, which is really nasty. You never want to eat it. One way you can get around that is by using steam. You put steam in, water in the pan, put a bowl above it, and it will cook the egg white. Or you can baste, which is having oil in the pan, excess oil, and taking a spoon and applying it to the top of the egg with that oil. That's something my grandma did, and that's something that I do quite often. But right now, I'm just going to flip it for safety. If the egg yolk breaks, just scramble it. It can cook pretty fast, scrambled, and it's just as good in my opinion. For scrambled eggs, you're going to want yours to be firm. You don't want it to be very watery. A lot of people like it that way, but I do not. And I wouldn't recommend it for anybody who's just trying these things for the first time. At this point, we should be ready to flip. For fried eggs, you definitely want all the white cooked once again because that white is really nasty. Probably time to flip the toast as well. As you can see, the egg is done on that side, and the toast is done on that side. Except for that little part of white runoff that ran through. The cooking process is pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Like I said, this is an easy and simple meal. And it can take very short amount of times. Next, we're ready for plating. By plating, I do not mean making it look fancy like you would see at a 5-star restaurant. I simply mean adding things that will make it better for you. At this point, we're ready to take it off the pan. I have my hands washed, so I'm very comfortable touching my toast. And I'm cooking only for myself, so I'm not as concerned as I would be about being sanitary as I would for other people, like using gloves and whatnot. Some of the basic add-ons include salt and pepper. Salt and pepper you put it on almost every meal you cook. And also turn your pan off to make sure that you don't have a fire, because you don't want that at all. Worse than anything else you can probably have in your house. And some basic things that you want to do is cooking your eggs and your toast at the same time, which cooking it in the same pan helps this because they both get cold very fast. Eggs and toast both get cold fast. So that's one thing you want to avoid, cooking them at different times, because then it'll just be less enjoyable. Some more diverse things you can add include avocados. That's my favorite thing of all time to put on eggs. Other than hot sauce as well, which is not very safe for new people to use as it is hot once again, and a lot of people don't like that and it can be painful. Some fruits you can add actually include tomatoes, which are fruits, and peppers, which are also fruits. You can take that up with the scientists. They'll tell you the same thing as me. There are seeds inside of it. It is fruit. Some vegetables that you can add onto your eggs and toast include chives, green onions, and sweet potatoes. They're all great. I prefer chives and green onions. In conclusion, through this demonstration, I hope you can see that eggs are simple and easy to make. They're efficient between prep, cooking, and plating. It's fun to make, and it doesn't really waste much time. I know many of you are college students and adults with jobs, and you have much busier lives than I do. So this can probably help you even more than it helps me. So I hope this was able to present you with a great meal option. And if you find yourself needing a quick meal, remember you can always make eggs and toast.